that I was born into a Phelps family. And since I was a teeny tiny baby, I sat in the church services up through until I left. I haven't attended the church for 16 years.
I am the fifth of 13 kids. I haven't spoken to my brothers and sisters for about 25, 30 years in some cases.
The pastor of the church is in charge. He's a shepherd. Everybody's supposed to do what he says. As far as family, the wife is in subjection and the children are in subjection of husband/father.
When I was younger, there was a lot of violence. For those early years, we were kept outside and away and isolated from him. For me, it was just scary to be near him.
He's supposed to be the authority that has the emotional maturity, in my view, maybe a fourth grader. And that's on a good day.
Everything that he approached it with extremely, and his violence was extreme as well. He had a barber strap when I was younger, and a moderate beating would be 7 to 10 lashes with that barber strap. Eventually, that strap was used so much that the ends of it got frayed, and so it was like little strands of it. So when it would whip around the side of your body, it would literally rip the skin on the opposite side of the body from where he was swinging. He graduated to a Maddock handle, and that was the instrument he used when we were older. And, I would get 40, 50 hits from that thing, and it would go from the lower back down to behind the knees. He literally would just go out of control.
It was loveless. It was scary. I didn't feel safe.
Sometimes there didn't need to be a reason. If he was just under stress or was feeling a certain way, that would cause violence.
See, he always was expressing aggression or anger in one form or another. He would be fighting in some way with a family member, someone outside of the family, or with himself.
I can't count how many times there were beatings that I got for, real and perceived behavior.
All I cared about was surviving. I did anything I felt that I needed to do in order to survive.
There's a spiritual element to this whole situation that has to be factored in. We learned from the time we were able to comprehend that to ensure that that you didn't end up eternally damned and in hell was to be at that place and be in submission to that man.
So you have this guy in charge who I think is, now in retrospect, basically addicted to anger, a rageaholic. If he doesn't get his daily fix, things aren't right. He can't function in a world without there being some type of war going on at some level.
When he can't deal with pain in any form, he turns violent. When he can no longer beat his kids physically, he turned it on his clients and on his colleagues until they wouldn't allow it anymore, and they disbarred him. So he had nowhere to turn it. So I believe that this was the outlet that he needed.
I don't judge him because it's like he's sick. It's like pushing down a crippled person. He's a victim of his dark ego, his carnal mind.
I believe that he believes that stuff he's preaching, but when it comes to the cruelty that he imposes on the citizens of this country, I think it comes from pain inside of him that he has to get out.
The tragedy of this really is that he was doing this in the name of God. Basically, this guy doesn't love me, and since he's the voice for God, in essence, God must not love me.
When I was growing up there, I was terrified of the concept or the notion of God. I felt from the time I was old enough to understand it that I was out of his favor.
I was so afraid of God, who didn't want to hear from me anyway, because I happened to be a female, and I never even thought in terms of a relationship with him. I was scared shitless of him. I knew that there was so much wrong with me that I was going to hell.
I think because most of my older siblings left, it occurred to me fairly early on, maybe when I was 13 or 14, that option was there. By the time I got to 17, there was no doubt in my mind that that's what I was going to do. I couldn't wait to do it.
They wanted to control my every move, and it just was intolerable. And, and being scolded and told that I wasn't right with the Lord. To me, I've never been right with the Lord. And it got to a point where, wait a minute, this is starting to make less and less sense.
They all had to slip off in the night and then kind of make some overtures, like, I kind of still would like to be your friend, because, we was tight. We was like that.
But on the night of my 18th birthday, once everybody had gone to sleep, I went up, got in the car, and loaded the trunk with my stuff. And then I went into the house and stood at the bottom of our stairs, and I yelled at the top of my lungs and ran out the back door and got in the car and drove away.
I'd been working on something. I wanted to finish it up, so I was late. There's no two ways about it. And I lied about it. I lied about where I'd been. And one of my sisters started to hit me and claw at me. And I looked her in the eye, and I said, I'm not afraid of you anymore. And it was strange. It's like I didn't even know where it came from. But damn, it felt good. And I realized that this isn't going to last anymore. If I was going to have any semblance of peace or sanity, I needed to get out of this.
They went out from us because they were not of us. They don't want to suffer afflictions with the people of God. They would rather enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. It's only a season.
I would have to say that, by definition, that group is a cult. They're a component of a charismatic leader, of isolation, of a sense of us versus them, and a willingness to act based on what that leader says without question. All that would be necessary would be for my father to make the decision that the Bible says, or that God told him, that a violent act had to be perpetrated, and it would happen.
How would you say that you are different now?
I don't live in fear. I don't live in fear anymore.
There is and will forever be a longing to have a family, but that's just a dream. How I feel about what they are doing today, I despise it. I despise my father for so many reasons. I look at what he's doing today as just an extension of what he's done his whole life